Theories and Causes of Crimes. Chapter 5, Sociological Theories. Group 7 Reporters.
Good day everyone, my name is Ivy Donaire, Section B. My assigned topic is all about theory of social enemy. So, basic concept of social enemy is an enormous gap between the desires of the individual and its real capabilities to satisfy those desires. So, when an individual is the one who gives or who carries out its social obligations in accordance with its social rule and the social environment does not give any feedback on his conduct, this will result in the alienation of the individual. So kung ang isa kong ka-individual kaya nagpapakita o nagbibigay siya ng mga obligasyon base sa kanyang tungkulin sa lipunan, pero ang nakapalibot sa iya is kanang walay pakigani or hindi binibigyang pansin ang kanyang mga ginagawa. And it will result sa pagkakalayo ng isang individual sa kanyang social environment. But to the individuals, it will not be clear why he is doing socially useful activities when he knows he could opt for another model of behavior that is apparently easier and does not require any effort. So, naasad ko na iba ng individual na dili jud klaro sa ilaha nga nung kailangan pa nila mubuhat o maayo kung pwede raman pili ang pag-uugali nga feel nila dali ra buhaton and does not require any effort. So, example is it is easier to steal than to work. So, mas para sa ilaha mas dali ang mga wat kaysa sa mga trabaho. No? So, the process of social interaction is based on reciprocity of care, attention, and trust. Both sides give something in the interaction, but also receive from the whole process of social interaction. Social enemy also happens when old rules or values are no longer relevant and new values or rules are in direct conflict with old rules and values. So, I have here causes of enemies and examples. So, cause of enemy, loss of one's sense of social belonging. So, example, people living in high-rise residencies feel disconnected from one another and struggle with loneliness. So, mundo sila, feeling nila they are cut off from their social group or circle. Yeah, breakdown of social norms that keep people united. Example, people engage in organized theft because they do not have other ways of accumulating wealth. So, muto para sa ako, giingon ginihang mas maayo na lang mo buhat o maayo kaysa sa mangita sila o trabaho. Sa mga to, kay katulo, individuals resulting to criminal activities. Nagkakaroon ng chaos dahil wala silang sinusunod na rules or standards sa kanilang social group. Self-derogation theory. So what is self-derogation? So self-derogation is a tendency to disparage oneself or belittling someone. So according to self-esteem model of deviance, juveniles may become involved in delinquency as a response to negative self-attitudes. So mga kabataan kuno ay maaaring masangkot sa delinquency o mga minor crimes bilang tugon sa negatibong saloobin sa sarili. Self-derogation theory predicts that low self-esteem motivates youth to try out delinquent activities that are aimed at restoring self-esteem. So, self-derogation theory predicts kuno kung unsa kababa ang pagpapahalaga sa sarili and motivates sa mga kabataan na mo-try anang mga delinquent activities including drug offenses and crime by young people against person and property. So, while the correlation between self-esteem and delinquency has been widely studied, the proposition that delinquent behavior can be self-enhancing effects remaining uncertain and undocumented. These studies examine some condition under which engaging in delinquent behavior may boost self-esteem. So, kung engage ko nung aning delinquent behavior, ay posibilidad na ma-boost ko ang imong self-esteem. Okay. So, applying multivariate procedures, semi-variable regression to the youth in transition data panel, the article tests and estimates the combined effect of initial self-derogation and participation in delinquency and subsequent self-attitudes. So, the results show a curvilinear or second-order interaction where self-enhancement from delinquent behavior occurs mainly among youth whose self-esteem is extremely low and whose self-esteem needs are unusually high. So, nangyayari ko na sa mostly sa mga kabataan. And these effects appear to be quite persistent, enduring undiminished over a 1.5 to 3.5 year lag. An additional and unpredicted finding is that delinquency may also show occasional enhancing effects among persons with very high self-esteem. Self-esteem and delinquency revisited again. A test of Kaplan's self-derogation theory of delinquency using latent growth curve modeling W. Alex Mason 1 and 2 received August 6, 1999. Accepted September 4, 2000. Investigation of Kaplan's self-derogation theory of delinquency are numerous, but results have been mixed. So, progress in this domain of research may be hampered by the use of statistical methods that do not optimally test hypotheses derived from the theory. So in this study, the relationship between self-esteem and delinquency is examined using latent growth curve modeling or LGM. So I have here isa po gani sa self-derogation. So, ang side niya sa self-derogation is a negative wording effect. Tapos, ang sa iyang side naman is self-enhancing positive wording effect. So, man siya. So, actually, naman kani mga search sa kanang sa Google gani about sa latent growth curve modeling. But then again, daghan na gid siyang manggawas. So, wala na lang ako siya i-appeal din. So, Kaplan's 1975A self-derogation theory of delinquency is grounded in the assumption that all persons have a basic need to think well of themselves and to avoid negative self-evaluation. So, ang theory ni Kaplan ko kay tanang tao kay naay pangunahing pangangailangan maisip ng mabuti sa kanila sarili at upang maiwasan ang mga negatibong pagsusuri sa sarili. This self-esteem motive is evident during adolescence when most boys and girls develop favorable views of self within the confines of commitment to conventional reference group. So, example ana is family relationships and mainstream friendship networks. So, mahitabo lang dito ko na siya sa during adolescence, so boys and girls. Kung na sila na sa self within the confines of commitment to conventional friends groups. So, that's all. And thank you.
Good morning everyone. My name is Marvin Lamario, base claim 2B. And my topic is interactional theory. Interactional theory offers a broad explanation for the causes and consequences of the involvement in antisocial behavior. So when we say broad, meaning there is no specific explanation on that certain subject. So dili pa siya kana gyud nga explanation ang kanang kuan, so broad pa kayo, so damo pa kayong mga explanation kayo, dili pa siya specific. So proposed by Thornberry, kayo dili pa siya specific. So proposed by Thornberry in 1987, primarily focus on delinquency and drug use during adolescence and early adulthood. So, nag-focus ni siya sa mga adolescents and mga early adulthood. The theory proposed that delinquent behavior was caused by weak social bonds and involvement of delinquent networks. So, when we say delinquent, typically of a young person or that person behavior. So, ang behavior ang behavior sa usa ka tawo, showing or characterized by tendency to commit a crime, particularly minor crime. So, kaning delinquent, kuan siya, nag-commit siya crime, particularly kanang mga minor crime ra, like, for example, kanang mangawat, or what else, basta mga minor crime. So, delinquency had feedback effects to weaken pro-social bonds and further embed the individual in deviant networks and belief system. So prolonged and serious involvement in the antisocial behavior gradually evolved over the life course of function on this receptional process. So nag-evolve na ang kuan sa tao. So in this sense, it is a variant of a social control theory that employs the basic argument that individuals who are attached to others committed to conformity and believe in the conventional values are unlikely to engage in the delinquent behavior. So, no longer bound to the straight and narrow, a number of alternatives become available to the individual, including the opportunity to engage the delinquent behavior. For that to occur, however, some mechanism that channels that behavioral freedom towards especially delinquent conduct is required. So especially if one is concerned with explanation, persistent and serious delinquency rather than isolated, no pattern act delinquency. So association, so ako naman gikuha ng delinquency nga meaning, no, nag-show siya sa characterized by a tendency or to commit crime, particularly minor crime ra. Associations with delinquent peers and the learning environment they provide are the primary mechanism for cultivating both delinquent belief and delinquent behavior. So kani siya nag-associated siya sa sa LB sa peers, mga silingan, or naka-cut-on ng karang usa ka person kanang mga delinquent behavior and provide the primary mechanism cultivate. And next is delinquency differs from those models in three fundamental respects. So na three fundamental respect and delinquency. First, it does not assume as many control-based theories that do that variation in the strength of the bonds just happen. It is systematically related to structural variables such as social class, position, and residential class. Second, it does not assume that causal models are stable over the life course. Causally influence vary at the different development stages and careers, initiation, maintenance, and termination. Third, it does not assume that causal influences are overwhelmingly unidirectional and that delinquency is merely an outcome variable. So, many effects are by bidirectional, and delinquency may contribute to the weakening of the social bonds as well as being a consequence of weak social bonds. Although interactional theory differs from other social control theories, in these three respects, the present analysis is concerned almost exclusively with the third issue, whether social bond variables and delinquency are better thought of recursively or reciprocally related. That's all. Thank you.
So, self-control theory. It is a criminological viewpoint that aims to explain how crime and delinquency, including interpersonal violence, are distributed among people, organizations, and societies. So, how does self-control theory explain crime? According to the self-control theory of crime, people who experienced ineffective parenting before the age of 10 have less self-control than people of a similar age who experienced effective parenting. A good illustration of self-control is to consider all of your options before making a snap decisions. Curiosity and a love of learning are character traits that can be developed in the process of developing self-control. The capacity to successfully consider opposing viewpoints is another aspect of self-control. Next is culture deviance theory. Culture deviance theory, it implies that crime is brought about by compliance to the dominant cultural norms of lower class society. Clifford Shaw and Henry Mackey conducted research on Chicago's early 90s crime patterns. In a more narrow sense, it refers to actions that deviate from the norm, such as using drugs or violence to disobey the law, as deviant conduct since it goes against accepted societal norms.
Good day, sir. Good day, everyone. Our group was assigned to tackle the Chapter 5 Sociological Theories. And my name is Gwyneth Ann A. Malinaw, and I am assigned to discuss the theory of feminism. Feminism on crime, causation, and deviance. Advocates of this theory react and highly criticize the male dominance explanation of crime causation and deviancy. It holds that crime causation and explanation of deviancy centered mainly on male offender, thereby leaving a gap and void as to the study and understanding of female offender and deviancy. The perspective of this theory is women's victimization, delinquency, and gender inequality. It highly criticizes the traditional mainstream criminology of stereotyping, where crimes and delinquency is heavily focused on male subjects, in which research on crimes is mostly on male offenders. Feminism approach attempts to examine if women delinquency and criminal behavior can be incorporated into the mainstream of deviance theory. The contention of the advocates of feminism is that whether, for instance, the theory of anomie, social control tradition, and social disorganization theory can also be applied on women's delinquency. So there are three feminist schools of thought that emerge regarding deviance, So the first one is the liberal feminism. It's simply the idea that those liberal ideals of equality and rights of liberties apply to women. In this sense, it is not so much a distinctive feminist theory as liberalism applied to women. Liberal feminism has been particularly associated with the ideas of formal equality and equality of opportunity, although contemporary liberal theories, such as that of Ronald Dworkin, also subscribe to stronger principles of equality, such as equality of resources or equality of concern and respect. So the second one is the radical feminism. According to his word of thought, patriarchy, meaning that male domination over males, keeps women more attached to his family, children, and home. Women are supposed to be domestically bound so that when they detach from domestic rules, they are most likely to be singled out as deviant. In the case of prostitution, for instance, women are most likely to be arrested and charged than their male counterpart because of the domestic perception labeled against them. Gender inequality plays a vital part here, although under the law, they should and must be equally guilty. Radical feminists consider sexual difference as having a certain priority in social life. Sexual difference here is viewed as structural. So here is the distinction between liberal and radical feminism. Radical feminist accepts the structural sexualization difference between man and woman, but seeks to reverse the evaluation of such variance. It does not argue for equality of both sexes, but seeks greater recognition of the emotive, affective, and feminine in social practice. In contrast, liberal feminism often accept the hierarchical ordering, but seek to reverse the sexualization of dichotomies, arguing that women are very bit as capable of activity and intellectual power and objectivity as are men. So the third one is the social feminism. This school of thought argues that women deviancy is the byproduct of exploitation of capitalism and patriarchy. Fewer economic resources, opportunities, and low-paying jobs availability are just leftover of men who dominate capitalism. Women are exploited by capitalism and patriarchy. As a result, they are left with only fewer opportunities. This factor lead to deviancy. So that would be all. Thank you. Feminism on crime, causation, and deviance. Advocates of this theory react and highly criticize the male dominance explanation of crime causation and deviancy. It holds that crime causation and explanation of deviancy centered mainly on male offender, thereby leaving a gap and void as to the study and understanding of female offender and deviancy. The perspective of this theory is women's victimization, delinquency, and gender inequality. It highly criticizes the traditional mainstream criminology of stereotyping, where crimes and delinquency is heavily focused on male subjects, in which research on crimes is mostly on male offenders. Feminism approach attempts to examine if women delinquency and criminal behavior can be incorporated into the mainstream of deviance theory. The contention of the advocates of feminism is that whether, for instance, the theory of anomy, social control tradition, and social disorganization theory can also be applied on women's delinquency. Also, thank you.
Hello, sir. Hello, everyone. Good day. So, my topic for today is all about Stephen Bax and Grace Hale, female liberation and criminality. So, Stephen Bax and Chris Hale debunk the theory as claimed by many scholars in the field of criminology, which support the theory that women liberation and emancipation leads to the increase of female offending. Data relating to England and Wales for 1951 to 1980 are used to test competing explanations for changes in female criminality. The results give little support to the emancipation or liberation causes female crime hypothesis, but to provide limited support for the marginalization thesis. And according to Bax and Hale, the increase in female criminality and deviancy has nothing to do with the liberation and or emancipation. Instead, they noted that the increase in female offending is more likely due to poverty and economic recession. Further, they also consider the following aspect as leads to increase in the recording of female criminality. So the first are increase of number of female officers as a possible factor of influencing the recording. Second, perception of greater liberation among women has been sensationalized and has sensitized authorities to the problem and lead to a greater likelihood of female offenses being recorded. So here are the analysis and discussion. The demand of women for gender equality plays a vital factor in the increase of criminality of women. Gone are the days where women are treated by the public, the police, and court as a passive individual in which should be treated in a chivalrous manner. Women power is now vogue. If we look around in every places of the world, women are asserting dominance in the public and private sector, and even in the military and police where it is used to be a male arena. As such, the economic marginalization between men and women and the equality society treated lead to women the same opportunity with men to commit crime and deviancy. In fact, because of their aura, they are even more dangerous than men as they can easily penetrate the corridor of women using their charm. An analysis of Freda's Adler theory and the female criminality by Freda Adler, Sister in Crime, The Rise of Female Criminal, published in 1975, proposes that the global acceptance of equality between men and women allowed women to be as crime-prone as men. She believed that increased economic and political opportunities for women have forced their way to be more visible to crimes, more particularly white-collar crime, and thus to be as crime-prone as men. Adler wanted to debunk the stereotypical view of society to women and female criminals as genetically passive. She believes that women are not genetically passive. She wanted to reveal the effect of independence of women to criminality. Then, according to Adler, female criminality activity is based on access and opportunity. Adler further argued that as females become more independent, their crimes would increase in severity. Now, we shall dissect the theory advanced by Freda Adler. Her theory on female criminality is anchored on opportunity and accessibility. According to Adler's theory, females commit crime based on accessibility and opportunity, inherent in a number of situations. Those situations are often influenced by the female socioeconomic status. Adler 2002, 1975. As female gains more independence in society, their access to more serious and criminal opportunities increased. By Adler 1975. So that would be all.
Good day, sir. My name is John Mark Budias and I'm here to report my scientific, which is applicability of Adler's theory to typical crimes. Now let's apply the theory of Adler's on access and opportunity, which leads to female criminality of typical crimes. Typical refers to a classification in describing a variety of crimes to female gender tends to commit. 1. Prostitution. Women have bodies to market, so in order to feed their needs, they become prostitutes and they can easily have access to such activity because it's easily seen. Number 2 is shoplifting. Women love shopping. Women's passion for shopping can be viewed as an access which gives window of opportunity to commit crimes in a mall or department store. And the last is 3. Murder. Victims are usually male with whom the female have an intimate relationship. This crime be caused by mental illness, sexual or emotional abuse, rejection by family members, and then theories and causes of crimes, conclusions and recommendations of Adler's theory. Differential operations theory. The developmental ecological perspective provides a means of understanding because children lack of power due to their age, size, and lack of resources. They are easily targets for adult operations that vary depending on their age. According to the theory of differential operations, operation leads to adaptive reaction by children, passive acceptance, exercise, or illegitimate coercive power, reducing the oppressive acts of adults and alleviating the damaging circumstances. That's all. Thank you.
Differential oppression theory. According to the theory of differential oppression, oppression leads to adaptive reaction by children, passive acceptance, exercise of legitimate coercive power, manipulation to one's peers, and retaliation, reducing the oppression acts of adults and alleviating the damage circumstances that characterize the social environment of children is critical to reducing the prevalence of juvenile delinquency and other problem behaviors. So, however, some people believe that the problem of the children starts in our society, which leads us to oppression. Unfortunately, for many children, rather than being supportive and nurturing, the social context by which they are surrounded is oppressive and damaging. Thus, contexts include both micro-level relationships with family and friends, and macro-level structural elements such as race, class, neighborhood, and age, which expose individuals to more or less oppression of different types. They contain children's problem behavior including the crime and delinquency, drug and alcohol abuse, and mental disorder can be understood the adaptive reaction to oppression social situations created by adults. So, ang oppression is walay ginapili, even if you're adult or child, 12 years old or 18 years old, which is tall or short, even, even if you're black or white, brown or gray, it doesn't matter. So each one of us as is na a problema. So mostly of our problems start in our society, to our family, to our peers, and so on. Compared to adults, children have almost no choice regarding which they are associated with and have limited resources available, influence others, or to support themselves independently of adults. Therefore, they have the less access to resources that could allow them to negotiate changes in their environment. Compared to parents, teachers, and other adult authority figures, children are relatively powerless and expected to often required to submit to the power and authority of adults. So we already know that children cannot defend themselves. They are dependent one, which are they are depending to their parents for their ug mohatag sila o tawagan So it said that most of our adults can decide themselves. Dili para sa mga bata na di pa sila decide sa kagalingon ana. Once Priory noted that the greater the exercise of control by of pressure, the more the oppressed become inanimate things or objects rather than people. Priory describe how oppressor offering creative images of oppressed groups as dependent and threatening to the social order. Thank you and God bless.